you more worried about the U.S. winning the race for AI dominance with China or about AI's potential threat to humanity?
Both. We're looking at that very strongly. We have a lot of threats in the opposite way if we don't do it. You look at the medical and medical research. Already the things that have come out of AI in terms of medical and cancer research and things, we're way ahead of what we ever thought we'd be just from the infancy of AI. So really both, and we want to be very careful with it. We also know that a big part of our economy, it could be 50, 60% of our economy going forward for a period of time at least, especially during the startup, is AI and AI-based. We have trillions of dollars of construction going on, and that construction would stop, or it would certainly be, a lot of it would be halted. So, look, we're leading China. We're leading China by a lot. China knows that, and not doing this would be the greatest gift to China and other countries, but China in particular, that China has ever received.
Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye might be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. Revelation chapter 2, verse 10. Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rachak Kodash. Double honors to our venerable apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. And peace and blessings to the Lord's elect, the house of David. All right, so Brother Haran coming back at you with a quick update. Lord willing to be edifying and informative to the elect. All right, and I'm going to cut straight to the chase with this one here. All right, and this is an article titled, Trump signs executive order seeking to block states from regulating AI companies. Okay, and of course, this is in preparation for 2026, which I believe is going to be the year of AI. All right, in the sense of you're going to start seeing a lot more of these governments incorporating AI into pretty much governance, right? Every sector you can think of, transportation sector, the food sector, the health industry, music industry, Hollywood, right? The education system, even policies from institutions like banking institutions and churches and public spaces, federal buildings, whatever you want to call it, military, right? Whatever you want to call it, you're going to see a heavy push of the incorporation of AI into our daily lives. And of course, with that being said, you're going to have regulations, right? States are going to have the ability to regulate these new rules, new laws, new bills that are going to be proposed, and so on and so forth. All right, and I believe through the Spirit, it's pretty obvious now, but DJ Trump is working hand in hand, all right, with a lot of these companies, and he's bypassing the so-called Constitution, all right, the Bill of Rights, and so on and so forth. Pretty much the power that was given to the states, all right, to act individually, okay, is being eroded. Okay, so in other words, everything is going to be made universal. And when you look at how things are going, they're not just targeting just states per se, try to do away with the concept of individual states, whether you're a Democratic state or a Republican state. Those are being done away with. All right, they just want to have one United States, right? One rule, one government, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so they're trying to do away with states being able to regulate because they're going to be coming down with a lot more laws, right? You just wake up one day, one state says, hey, or the federal government says, we have this one law moving forward, right? Because they want to push for the digital ID. Moving forward, if you want to use any apps, right? Apple might say, okay, moving forward, if you want to, use the call feature on your phone, or you want to use the FaceTime feature on your phone, or you want to use a calendar app or the weather app, or whatever the case may be, you must upload your digital ID, your government issued digital ID. And they don't want states to be able to regulate that, to kind of put a blockade on these tech companies, because that's what the tech companies need. They need the legislative ability to be able to come down with these policies that would be deemed unconstitutional. Okay, but through executive orders and of course emergency use authorization, they'll be able to circumvent the Constitution, which pretty much is null and void at this point. When you go into the concept of the Patriot Act and so on and so forth, they circumvent the Constitution in the name of keeping the homeland safe. So always remember that. Okay, but let's get into it. It says on December 11th, 2025, President Donald Trump signed a highly controversial executive order designed to limit the ability of individual U.S. states to regulate artificial intelligence and push for a unified federal approach to governing the rapidly evolving technology. Okay, so about a year ago, we were saying that, and it goes to show you how fast this AI thing is growing. All right, this is written in the book of Daniel, the 12th chapter, that what the knowledge shall increase. Okay, so we're seeing, all right, the knowledge going into what the science. All right, the word science literally means ciencia, which means to know. All right, the concept of knowledge, right, Gnostic, and knowledge increasing means science and technology is taking a step ahead of what was previously considered to be, advancement. Right now, they're above and beyond where they're going to start having humanoid robots come 2026. All right, remember, was it last year or the year before, right, at a SoFi Stadium when they were opening it, they had all these humanoid robots that were sitting in the midst of the people, and it was so real, people thought it was like human beings that were wearing masks. It could be that, but then you look at the back of their heads and you're like, yo, these are dead-ass robots, So, they got all this, the skins, the flesh, the sinews, the bones, the muscle, all that shit. DARPA is working on that right now, okay? So get ready for them to pair machines and people, right? The transhumanism biometric system. All right, it's fast approaching. Okay, so with Trump doing this, it indicates that they're getting ready to make their move. All right, upon the people. Okay, it says according to multiple reports, the administration argues that a patchwork of state regulations could stifle innovation and hinder the United States' competitiveness in the global AI race, particularly against countries like China. Okay, and that's been the given growing sentiment, right? Since the whole AI race thing started, even going back to 2021, where Biden came out and said, hey, there's going to be a new world order out there, and we have to be, number one, basically, right? So when you look at China right now, right, China is leading the world when it comes to, AI tech with, in reference to AI governance, right, where, societies ran by technology. You have cameras watching you 24/7. You have your phones dictating, where you lie on the social strata, right, in terms of social credit systems and so on and so forth. So all these things that we see in China is going to be coming here to America, but it's going to be much worse because Americans believe in something known as freedom, right? Freedom of speech, freedom of this, freedom of that. It's going to be a huge shell shock to know that those things don't even exist, and then to live in the reality of a totalitarian world that you don't even think was possible in America, right? You're not going to be voting no more. Forget about that, because Trump already told you, right? It was going to be fixed 4 years. You're not going to vote. My favorite Christians, whatever, my lovely Christians, whatever he said. Okay, so that was an indicator right there. And I guess Trump is a high level satanic priest, bro. Okay, like we talking about like Chaldeans, like he's one of them niggas. Okay, all these experts and scientists, they're all modern day Chaldeans coming back, bro. Okay, so yeah, they're all here. Okay, it says according to multiple reports, the administration argues that a patchwork of state regulations could stifle innovation to hinder the United States' competitiveness in the global AI race, particularly against countries like China. All right, so going back to the point of this whole AI arms race, kind of like the Cold War. Okay, we're going to see who's going to win this AI battle and so and so. But at the end of the day, whoever gets to the end loses, really, right? It's like, if I'm able to get this first, then I'm going to have power over you and so on and so forth. But really, once you get to the end and AI becomes, like Trump says, supreme intelligence, which is blasphemous, but leave it to him. He's a chosen one, right? So, this whole supreme concept, right? This whole supreme AI bullshit. Once you reach that point, what happens is you end up with the fulfillment of a heap of ruins, because AI ruins everything. AI is literally going to distort reality. That's why it was created. right? Is gonna be the one to dictate who lives and who dies, all based off algorithms, and they're all gonna be flawed, all flawed, man. Okay, you know the way they're gonna categorize race, all right, gender, sex, age. Okay, everything that you do is going to be data. What's it called? Data-driven epistemology is what they call it. Okay, data-driven epistemology, meaning, in other words, everything that they do is based on data, algorithms, right? Oh, the data says this. Even if what you're doing is correct, based on the data, which could be false and fraudulent, but based on that, your insurance premium is going to go higher, or based on the data, your health, premiums are going to go higher. Whatever. It's always going to be some bullshit based on data, not based on reality, but based on some bullshit data that who knows who came up with these, measurements or whatever the case may be, right? It's all, again, to control the masses, okay? So, again, trying to regulate or trying to stop states from regulating is basically saying you are not allowed to push back against any of these tech companies whenever they come down on you or demand that you do something outside of your comfort zone. If a company desires you to have a CHIP in you in order to be identified, in order to actually access their platforms, which are tied into the government database, right? You want to file taxes, or you want to get some money, or you want to go to the bank or whatever. It's all tied into the government provided digital ID. If you don't have that federal ID, these companies are not going to be able to work with you. And that's why they want to make sure that these states cannot regulate against private companies demanding certain things that may be deemed unconstitutional from the people. That's why this whole thing is being done, okay? So it says here, Trump and his advisors have emphasized that AI is a strategic industry with significant economic and national security implications, and too many differing state laws create bureaucratic hurdles for AI companies. And that's good, okay? Because a lot of these things that these companies are asking for or demanding, okay, this is not the first time they've been demanding these things. They tried it back in the 90s, all right? Early 2000s. And back then, you had, the Senate, pretty much shut that shit down. Like, hey, we're not with that, right? We can't have privatized companies, be in league or be in bed with the government this much, right? Where you're eroding the trust that you have in the public and shifting it over to the private sector, which is not good for the people. Okay, states must be allowed or must be able to regulate certain things that may cause harm to their citizens, right? But Trump is saying, nah, there's no need for that because there's too many hurdles for the AI companies to jump over. Fuck yeah, nigga, isn't that a good thing? We don't know what they're trying to say. All they're telling the world is AI is going to make your life better. We ain't trying to hear none of that because we see what this is leading to. When you got deep fake, you got all these different things. Next thing you know, there's going to be a huge cyber attack. Who's going to be doing it? AI. You don't really have a real enemy. AI is going to be the one doing it, but then they're going to create these enemies out of nowhere to foment certain propaganda and shit like that. You see, this is what I see happening. Come 2026, you're going to see a lot more, disaster, right? Whether it be weather related, all right, or false flag, whatever's going to be happening, right? Cyber attack or some shit. It's going to be AI doing it, but Esau going to come up with a boogeyman to push for more, because remember, never let a good crisis go to waste. Okay, so a lot of these things that you're going to be seeing is going to be all AI shit, cyber. That's going to be the biggest thing. Okay, because it's a cyber world. So in order to get people to that point of, I'm so afraid, I need the government to really regulate and help us, and AI is going to really do this, and in order for you to get people on board all the way, you gotta, you know what I'm saying, you gotta threaten their online safety to a degree, right? Every crisis is going to be not a problem that they're looking for a solution for per se, but more of a leverage until they get to the ultimate solution, which is the MOTB. Okay, so you're going to see in a lot of these issues like, oh, you guys said a digital ID is going to be the way to go. Now we're seeing that it's not really what you guys said it was, but there's really nothing we can do about it because states can't really regulate. So the next thing is going to be the MOTB. Oh, shit. Now people are required to take it in order for them to work or do this or do that. Well, that's biblical prophecy, and you're seeing it playing out and unfolding right now. Okay? So nobody really has an excuse. None. Okay? And guess what? These companies they're not doing things based on biblical terminology like sin and all these various forms, both political and religious. They're not dealing with that. Okay, that's the last thing that they're even thinking about. Right? They're not even dealing with politics. How much more religion? They're not dealing with politics. They're dealing with technological advancements for complete global takeover. That's it. Fuck your politics, fuck your religions, fuck your debates, all that shit. They just want you to engage in that to create more of a division. But in reality, man, they don't really care, bro. You could have your conversations all you want. Data driven epistemology means I'm watching everything you're saying. We're collecting all your data, right? And like Oracle nigga said, Larry Ellison, the citizens are going to be on their best behavior because we're going to be constantly watching and recording everything 24/7. So the citizens are going to be on their best behavior. The police, law enforcement, they're going to be on their best behavior because we're constantly watching 24/7, recording everything, and reporting. That's what he said, reporting. Who the fuck are you reporting to? See? So, yeah, the infrastructure is being built, and, you got people who still playing around and sleeping. It's happening. It's happening, bro. It's happening. All these things happening all at once. It's happening. But for those who are not paying attention, it seems like isolated events. But for those who are watching, it's all in succession. It's a sequential order, right? Oh, this happened, that happened, earthquake this, famine is this, pestilence this. Oh, it's all happening. Okay. It says, under the order, the Department of Justice is instructed to form a task force to challenge state AI laws that the administration views as overly restrictive. The Commerce Department is also tasked with identifying state regulations deemed problematic. The executive order goes as far as to threaten withholding federal funding, including money related to broadband development, from states with what the administration considers onerous AI regulations, meaning it's a hindrance, it's a problem. Okay. It says the directive is part of a broader White House effort to ensure a single national framework. You hear that? National framework. This is all Revelation 13:16 talk right here. Okay, it causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, okay, to receive a mark in their right hand or on their forehead. So you're seeing your White House, all right, in an effort to ensure a single national framework for AI oversight rather than a patchwork of hundreds of different regulatory regimes. David Sachs, another J, all right, Z in it, Zionist, a key advisor on AI and cryptocurrency policy, stated that federal action would be aimed at the most burdensome state requirements while leaving measures related to child safety untouched. And we know that to be false. Okay. Yeah. It says, however, the order has triggered strong opposition across the political spectrum. Lawmakers from both parties, civil liberties advocates, and state officials argue that the move infringes on states' rights to protect their residents from emerging risks associated with AI, such as privacy violations, discrimination, and misuse of personal data. Okay, so these are reasonable things to push back on, but they say, nah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Let AI do its thing without being regulated. That is very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. Okay, especially when you know what this devil is up to, right? Basically creating a humanoid robot army to oppress the people. That's literally what this is all about. And they want the people to accept this shit without really pushing back. But they're going to do it through executive orders. See how these devils move? Okay? It says critics also contend that only Congress, not an executive order, has the authority to override state laws in such a sweeping manner. But that's law, though. That's a constitutional thing, right? That Congress, you have to have the checks and balances. But this clown been signing executive orders since day one. He's been signing executive orders since day one. When did Congress ever step in to say, oh, this or that? You've had the Supreme Court, push back on a few of these executive orders and deem them, illegal, unlawful, right? But in a state of emergency, the Supreme Court can't really say anything for at least 6 months. These executive orders will be in play. All right, especially in the time of martial law, it's a lot of things that they plan to do. We've gone over it multiple times, going into, the suspension of your constitutional rights, including writ to habeas corpus. Okay, meaning your ability to be brought to court for a hearing, right? What they call the due process. Okay, habeas corpus, meaning bringing the body, all right, returning the body or bringing the person in for them to be able to pitch their case as to why they're being held against their will. Okay, they want to do away with that. So you can be, in other words, you can be what they call arrested and detained indefinitely. Okay, when once the writ of habeas corpus is done away with, you can be detained indefinitely without any due process or trial. Okay, so that's something you should look forward to as well. Okay, in a time of martial law, it says critics also contend that only Congress. So we read that it says several states, including California, Colorado, Utah, and Texas, have already enacted their own AI-related laws focused on transparency, accountability, and data safety. Yeah, you can say all these things, but guess what? You still have lobbyists pushing for a lot of these things to become law in these various states. You still have companies building AI data centers in these various states. So, yeah, they could push this whole concept of, fighting against this whole thing for the people, but reality is they all working together. Okay, because the people don't really step up to do anything. They just go along with it because they don't know anything. They don't know any better, right? When your schools are not teaching you shit and people don't read books anymore and life is just scrolling on your TV and your TikToks and your phones and all day, every day, you're not really learning shit. You don't know shit, all right? And that's exactly what they want. They want a sleeping city because a nigga who's sleeping, you can always take him over, all right? It says California, which has passed a large number of AI regulations in recent years, is expected to be one of the states most affected by the federal effort to limit state-level authority. The legality of the order itself is also uncertain. Constitutional scholars note that executive orders cannot directly nullify state legislation without explicit congressional authorization, making legal challenges likely. Opponents warn that the directive may prioritize the interest of high-tech companies over public safety and consumer protections, and that's true. Okay, so it makes you wonder, like, why the hell is the president making way for AI tech companies over the American people who voted him in? You see? But these people, man, listen, you got a lot of people who are so-called MAGAs. They're under a spell, a major spell. If they can't see what's going on, hey, it is what it is, right? That's why, let's get that real quick. Okay, this is all leading to what we always keep bringing out, okay? Isaiah chapter 19. Okay, and in verse 2 it says, "And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom." So all these things is building up to that, okay? Maggots versus these liberals, okay? They're going to go at it. They are going to go at it. All right, it says in verse 3, it says, "And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers and to them that have familiar spirits and to the wizards." And they're going to do that through the medium of AI. Okay, quite frankly, they're using AI through the churches, right? That's also part of those seeking to the idols. Okay, you're seeking wisdom from spirits. Okay, AI is pretty much like it's acting like a spirit, right? It can speak, it can process information, right? It can give you feedback, right? It can they're using AI on a different level when it comes to even witchcraft. You see what I'm saying? It's like this shit is taking a life of its own. It's taking a life of its own, and if you're not careful, which the rest of the world, they're not careful, they're gonna get fucked up with this AI shit. Okay, Trump don't want to call it AI because it just sounds like, oh, it's not enough. We're gonna call it supreme intelligence. Yeah, this nigga here, man. All right, verse 4 says, "And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts." Okay? So that cruel Lord, we believe, is DJ Trump. All right, Nero 47. Okay, and come 2026, I was telling my brothers, I said, yo, once he's done with the 1 year, typically, if you pay attention, after the year in office, that's when things start, like, that's when shit really starts getting, like, put in place, and that's going to be 2026. All right, so that's a heavy, heavy year, man. Just the numerologies that goes into it. right, how close it is to 2030 and the plans they have for 2030, right, it only makes sense that they're going to really push heavy, all right, for the incorporation of AI into our daily lives, so to speak. Okay. So yeah, man, just get ready. All right. All these companies are going to start coming down heavy. Or I believe in Texas, they're saying by January 1st, it's going to be in effect where if you want to even download the weather app, you're going to have to put your ID, your state ID or federal ID or whatever it is, right? You're going to have to put some type of actual identification up, all right, in order to download or utilize the weather app, something to that effect. Okay, so that's just another sign of how they want to bring AI more into your life, whether you want it or not. Okay, so it's like, yeah, all right. So it's pretty much it. Just want to highlight that real quick, just to let you know, hey, they got these kind of things going on. Trump is not playing. All right, he's been signing executive orders since day one, bro. All right, pretty much a whole year in, from January to December, executive order after executive order. As a matter of fact, let's see. Let's look it up. Let's see how many executive orders this nigga signed. How many EOs has Trump signed? Not interested. How many executive orders has Trump signed in 2025? You can't just tell me you want me to go to the site to read all the executive orders. I just need to know how many. How many executive orders has Trump signed in his second term? How many? How many? What's the number? What's the number? What is the number? Why are they not telling me this? What's the number? Stop giving me the executive orders. I want to know how much, how many. Let's see here. Shit, look at this. Damn. As the 47th president of the United States, Donald Trump has relied extensively on executive orders. In the first 100 days of his presidency, just the first 100, Trump signed 143 executive orders. Damn. An average of over one per day. More than any other president had signed in their first 100 days in office. Okay, so what does that mean? What does that mean? When I see that, I see this. Revelation chapter 12, verse 12. All right, it says here, it says, therefore rejoice ye heavens and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. How is it that this nigga is going to come in within 100 days? He signed over 143 executive orders. That's within his first 100 days. And that's all this information is giving me. But if we were to go, okay, so it's a whole lot. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep scrolling through. Oh, shit. Okay. Now we talking. So far, as of December 6th, 2025, that's as far as this thing goes, because he just signed this one here, December 11th, right? So as of December 6th, 2025, he signed about 218 executive orders. His first 100 days was 143, I think, or 45, right? 145 executive orders. As of December 6, 2025, he's up to 218. Okay? And it's stupid shit like designation of certain Muslim Brotherhood chapters as foreign terrorist organizations and specifically or especially designated global terrorists. That's one, right? Launching the Genesis mission. That's another one, right? What's the other one? What's this? Fostering the future of American children and families. Unlocking cures for pediatric cancer with artificial intelligence. These are all executive orders, yo. Okay? The gold card. Like, nigga, like, none of these things actually help the American people. It's all shifting everything into the private sector. That's what this is all about. Okay? Because when he was having those meetings, it was all these private sector niggas that was around him, around the table talking and saying, oh, that was a good meeting. Oh, the president is doing a good thing for us. It wasn't no regular American people with small businesses coming up there and pitching their case. They don't care about small businesses. That means they don't care about the American people, point blank, period. If you still don't get it now, well, you're never going to get it. Okay? an executive order prosecuting burning of the American flag. So there you go. When protests hit, it's going to be basically illegal to burn flags, right? Let me see. Yeah, it's just a whole bunch. I mean, this nigga done signed 214. Let me see. Shit, my fault. 218. All right, 218 executive orders as of December 6th. So December 11th, with this whole new trying to regulate AI or trying to stop states from regulating AI, that could be 219 right there. You know, this nigga sound like he's moving like he trying to sign 666 of them bad boys by the end of the year. At the way he's moving, shit. You know, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Just wanted to share that real quick. All right, these devils are moving, okay, and it's just a matter of time before all that movement, all right, either comes to a stop or it turns into a different. They change gears basically. All right, they're gonna change gears. All right, things are gonna pick up much faster. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it off there, Lord willing, you're edified and informed. In closing, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rechak Kodash, the Wadi Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai. Until next time, Shalom.